am as sick as a hick and twice as thick, but I have to make this video because I'm coming out with a video tomorrow entitled Huge Announcement, and everyone who sees that is going to think that it's about this patch, which is the biggest one in basically 2 years of Fury of Dracula. You know all of my complaints that I've had throughout all of my videos? Well, this patch seems to fix, like, all of them. Oh my goodness, I cannot talk about this enough. There's a whole lot to talk about, so let's get into it, but not before I shill for my book, which is coming out tomorrow, and that's what that video will be about, not this update. But we're going to talk about this update now. It's a beta because it's that big of an update that they want to beta test it first, and also because they don't want to mess with the tournament that's going on. There are instructions here on how to do the beta, and you can read those yourself, but I am going to go over all of the changes, which I have read, so this is not a reaction, but I want to talk about them because there's a lot too. Added vampire encounter card health to the trail and on the cards themselves. This is really great. No longer do you have to remember how much health the vampires have. It actually says it, and that's great. I like not having to remember things. Added a Discord icon to the main menu that links to the Nomad Games Discord page. Love that. I am sad of how many people who have started the game can't find human players or does not know about the Discord or know that the only way to get human players in this game is to do the Discord. So a direct link is great. Added a house rule for Dracula to choose a location or power card to place on the trail after sliding the trail. So this is the rule in the rulebook for the physical edition. It's slide and slap, where the trail slides and then you slap a card down, as opposed to what we have currently and is in default with digital edition, which is slap and slide, where you slap the card down and then it slides. This is overall a buff to Dracula. Whether or not he needs it is up for debate. I think there will need to be a lot of acclimating to this new system if it is incorporated. Again, it's technically a house rule. But I think it's a good change. Now, one thing I was not expecting is this. Added a house rule where Dark Call draws the top card of the event deck. This is a variant that I have advocated for because I think the game would be better with more event cards, and I think that buffing a weak card for Dracula that he rarely ever uses doesn't necessarily buff Dracula. If you were to buff one of his best moves that he uses a lot, then that would buff Dracula. But if you buff a move that he doesn't use, well, then it's more of a trade-off situation, and overall I think would just make the game better. But it's a house rule. It can be added, again, in the beta version, which you should beta test to figure out if there are any bugs. Added a house rule to control how much influence Dracula gains when maturing a vampire hideout with a rumor token. Okay, if you think rumor tokens are too powerful, you can modify that. But I think rumor tokens are just fine. Added a button in combat UI to allow players that are in combat to view the map. Oh, this is so good. This is what digital adaptations like Root do, where whatever dialog box you're in, you can go back, check the map, check the discard pile, have access to the information to make the decisions. So good. Okay, change. Changed Hunter combat hand size to info to just display how many item cards the Hunter has. Yes! The Dracula should not know how many cards the Hunter has that are combat cards. In the physical game, you have your hand of items. Maybe some of those are combat, maybe some of them aren't, and then you add the basic cards, punch, dodge, and escape to that, and that is your hand. Dracula does not know which of those are combat items and which of those are dogs or horses or steak. And I'm really bad about checking that in combat to see how many combat cards somebody has, so this is a buff to me, not forgetting to do that check, because now that'll make combat a little tougher for Dracula. Dracula can now view discarded face-down encounter cards. Yeah, it seemed like Digital was improperly interpreting the rules on what can be viewed in the discard pile and what can't. So it looks like that's being fixed. Dracula now heals before the match ends when normally moving to Castle Dracula. This only really matters for tournament play, where you might want to be maximizing your IDS, but I think technically, according to the rules, you should heal before the game ends when you get the Fury of Dracula ability. Not a big change, but if this is a accurate interpretation of the rules, then I'm all for it. Viewing cards revealed by Spy on Consecrated Ground is no longer on a timer. Ah, that's very good. Very often when cards are revealed via various effects, you have a few seconds to look at what is in hand, and then suddenly they're gone, and then you have to awkwardly ask the other player to remind you what was in the hand. So sitting down, being able to look at it, take notes if you want, a good improvement. All players in online combat now choose their combat cards at the same time rather than one after another. Oh, that's good. Anything to make the game go faster and to have less waiting on the other person is good. This is how it's done in the physical game. So streamline that stuff. So good. Just again, it's everything we could have wanted. This is the best patch ever. Card reveal dialogue now includes target hunter names in the title. Yes. So often it's like when, say, Consecrated Ground is going off, and each of the then there's this person's revealing their heavenly host, this person's revealing their heavenly host. The game doesn't properly communicate that it was Mina that revealed a heavenly host and Van Helsing that revealed a heavenly host. Oh, but not Seward and Godalming. And it actually will have the name of this person's revealing, that person's revealing. That is so good. It's really good. Updated OK dialogue when no card can be revealed to include hunter name in the title. OK dialogue when no card can be revealed to include hunter name in the title. Oh, so like if you ambush somebody with dogs, and then it says, and then they don't reveal anything. There's a dialogue box saying Godalming didn't reveal anything. I guess, if I'm reading that correctly. Basically, dialogue boxes need hunter names on them, and it's good that they're being added. Dracula marker can now be removed by placing a marker on a location which already has a marker. Dracula markers can now be removed by placing a marker on a location. Wow. Man, I haven't played with markers in forever. That's a system used for, like, communicating. I guess Dracula can place a marker, and now they can be removed. That's nice. Selecting coastline cities during excellent weather is improved. Yeah, there have occasionally been bugs where it can be hard to click on certain things, like for using excellent weather, and you have to try it multiple times, actually command you to go to the location, so that's good. Mature or lair prompt added to replace the confusing yes or no prompt. Yes! It's so bad in the current game where it's promote to lair, yes or no. And it's like, what does that mean? Well, it means that if you click yes, you don't get your points. So now the two options are mature and lair, because those are the options. And that is so good that is how it's been changed. Chat button is now available while the player is in the most dialogue/prompts. Chat button is now available while the player is in most dialogue prompts. Oh, you can click on that. You can pull up the dialogue, the chat box, even when various prompts are popping up. That will make it use. That'll be very good for people who are not playing on comms, who are playing in groups, so that they can be like, "Hey, should I reveal this?" And then you can see the response of "No, I wouldn't," or "Yes, I would." That's good. Text in chat box doesn't get all selected upon reopening the chat. Oh, this is so good. You've all seen it. If you've watched any video, you've seen someone typing in the chat, and then when a turn happens, it auto-selects all the text. You're still talking, and you destroy everything you did. Oh, so good that that's being changed. Man, it's everything. It's everything we could have wanted. When selecting event or discarding cards, the multiple select dialog will appear no matter how many cards are available for consistency's sake. Oh, okay. Yeah, because sometimes the box is like, play this card, yes, no, but then when there's multiple cards, it pulls up a different dialog box. And so for consistency, even if it's the one card, have it be that same dialog box as if it's multiples. That's good. Yeah, I understand them wanting to change that. Consistency is good. Adjusted zoomed out camera position for better visibility of Cadiz. Yeah, Scott Sword mentioned this, that certain cities can be hard to see even at max zoom, and it looks like they've fixed that. Discard menu select list is now properly localized. Okay, sure. Proper localization is always good. You can't localize it into every language, but the more the merrier. And you want to make sure that it's accurate. The play card button in combat now says take card during plotting. Right. Yes. Every so often, when I resolve plotting, I get confused, and I'm like, "Oh, I want to play this. This is my hand. Nope. That's the draw deck you're looking for. You're going to draw something from there." I'm like, "Oh, right. I'm drawing a card." Doesn't necessarily matter, but it's good that take card is there to remind players, "Hey, you're drawing a card. You're not playing it yet necessarily." A single hunter can no longer play multiple planned ambushes at once. Oh, okay. Yeah, they wouldn't want to, and you don't want to accidentally allow them to do so. Okay, fixes. Oh, look at all these fixes. So many fixes. Okay, let's look at it. Fixed using C locations when calculating the distance between the location a hunter was defeated at and the nearest hospital. Yeah, occasionally people have mentioned bugs where the game is not properly calculating distance for the purposes of respawning. That it's not taking into account oceans properly. Good to see that that's being fixed. We'll see if that's really the case when we beta test it, which you all should do. Fixed Dracula drawing initial encounter cards after initial placement rather than before. So this is, could call it a buff to Dracula, but it is a more accurate implementation of the rules that will make the game better. Dracula will see his opening hand of encounters and then choose where to go, which I think is just better for the game. It makes the opening decision more interesting, where you might choose different locations based on the encounters that you draw. If you realize you don't have any vampires, you might be like, oh, I need to dark call early, which will change how I set up. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Fixed hunters not discarding rail tickets when moving to a hospital. This is an interesting one because the learn to play rule, from what I understand, the learn to play rulebook says you lose your tickets when you die, but the rules reference has no mention of you losing your tickets when you die. And I think that is fair to interpret that as meaning you should lose your tickets when you die. It's kind of weird that you don't. Fixed Dracula not being able to play the feed power card while at full health. Yes, now Dracula can just vibe for a turn and feed on nothing. There have been times when I have needed to do it. In fact, I think there was a game I played not too many videos ago where I really wanted to feed because I wanted to stay in place, but I couldn't because I hadn't taken damage, so I dark called in order to fight somebody. And yeah, that I believe is how the rules should be implemented. Fixed Dracula being revealed when on a city where the only present hunters are in a hospital. Yes, I've seen this happen too. The game will think that you are being revealed if you move into a space where the hunter is at a hospital, but no, technically the hospital and the city are different spaces in the board game. And so they follow different rules for, like, the hunter is not in the city, he's in the hospital, so Dracula would not reveal himself. Fixed wolves mature effect, not being able to target hunters in the same city as the wolves. Yes, currently wolves do not have the attention span necessary to attack someone in their own space when they mature. Glad to see that being fixed. Fixed, now they can attack the same space. Fixed spy affecting multiple hunters. Yes! So, and this is also true for Sisgani bodyguards. It should be that spy and Sisgani bodyguards, when they go off, only affect one hunter. Currently, they're affecting all the hunters in their space. Like, no. Certain encounters are supposed to affect multiple hunters, and certain encounters are supposed to affect single hunters. I even talk about this in my guides. Like, oh, these ones attack multiples, these ones attack singulars. No, there's a bug where cards that attack singulars attack multiples. And it's like, no, those aren't supposed to do that. So while everyone's talking about how buffed Dracula is going to be getting, remember, certain things like these are also going to nerf certain of his encounters. Fixed to freeze that occurs when selecting a card too quickly when in combat. I think I've seen that on occasion. Good to see it fixed. Fixed double chat icon appearing in combat while in the waiting for prompt. I haven't seen that, but good to see bugs being fixed. Fixed hunters remaining delayed and or impaired by bats when being defeated. Yes! I've talked about this. The game has kept bats or delayed tokens when you die, making those quite a bit stronger. So again, this is technically a nerf to bats. Which, bats is strong. I'm still going to be using bats. Still a good card, and it makes sense. The bats would not follow you to the hospital if you're traveling halfway across Europe. Fixed a delayed hunter being able to join another hunter's combat with a new vampire. I could actually see this going both ways in terms of rule interpretation, but it definitely makes more sense that you cannot become delayed to join a combat if you are already delayed. Fixed behind the veil, not revealing the discarded encounter card. That's more of a quality of life thing. Like, you get to look at it. It gets discarded face down, and then Dracula has to like look at his hand to be like, wait, what did you take? It's just dumb. Just, yeah, show it when it's discarded. Fixes Gani Bodyguard's mature effect, resolving before hunters can use event cards to cancel the combat. Yeah. If you escape, I don't think you even have a combat, so the Sizgani Bodyguard should not be able to trigger at the start of combat. Is my understanding. Again, another nerf to various encounters. Fixed. Not, and again, when I say nerf, I mean they're incorporating the rules as they are intended, and that is resulting in things being nerfed, but it is better for the rules to be followed. Fixed, not resolving all Sizgani Bodyguard mature effects when there are multiple Sizgani Bodyguards in play. Yeah, we've seen this. It's rare to mature both Sizgani Bodyguards, but doing so used to only resolve one. It was like a binary. Do you have Sizgani Bodyguards or not? And then it uses one, and then if you get into another fight with Dracula, then it'll use the next. But no, they should both be able to be used. And this looks like that they will be, which is great. Fixed, not updating the interactive guide when using the in-game settings toggle. Okay, well, I don't use the interactive guide, but UI fixes are always good. Fixed Dark Call feed, Wolf Form, and Misdirect not being readable on the trail to hunters. If you say so. If it's a bug, I believe it and glad that it'll be fixed. Fixed online replaced with AI dialogue remaining open after the players rejoins. Haven't seen it, but again, good to fix things. Oh, this is a big one. Fixed Chartered Carriage using a special action rather than a movement action. Yeah, Chartered Carriage is supposed to replace your movement action. It's not supposed to be a special action. So that's a slight nerf to Chartered Carriage and a slight nerf to Renewed Vigor, sort of by proxy. But it seems to me that Chartered Carriage should only be playable as a move action, not as a special action, given the way the card is worded. Wax Skillender text no longer mentions that text not mentioning that it is used as an action. I don't think the original card says that it is used as an action, but I don't have my copy of the board game with me at the moment because I sold my physical copy because I only played digital edition. But it uses an action, so it should say that it uses an action. Fixed fast horses not triggering wild horses. Yes! Given the phrasing of wild horses and the phrasing of fast horses, it seems like wild horses should be usable on fast horses. Now, wild horses, for the exact same reason, should also be usable on Sense of Emergency, which it is also not used on. I don't know if they've fixed that, but Nomad, if you're listening, wild horses should also be playable on Sense of Emergency. Okay. Fixed rumor tokens being lost upon converting a hideout into a lair. Yeah, from what I've heard, people say that from what it says in the rulebook, when a hideout is turned into a lair, you don't remove the rumor tokens. Which means that if you revisit that lair, you get to retain that rumor token. But that's not how it is in the digital edition. But this update will change that. Fix that, which is good. Fix Dracula being unable to move using Escape as Bat when all adjacent cities are on the trail. Yes, there's a similar problem having to do with ocean wolf forming, that occasionally the game does not understand that you can skip over your trail in certain circumstances, and it's good to see that fixed. Fix Dracula being unable to move using wolf form at sea when all adjacent ports are on the trail. Yes, that's exactly what I was talking about. In fact, the very last game that I had that you haven't seen yet because it comes out tomorrow, actually, this specific event happens, and it was very good for me as the hunters because the Dracula player was not able to do what he wanted because the game did not let him skip over his trail. Very happy that this will be fixed so I don't have to feel guilty for winning. Fixed forewarned triggering when another hunter in the same city is ambushed by an encounter which affects multiple hunters. Yeah, so some of this is a little bit like, well, you could kind of interpret it one way or another, but ultimately I think it makes sense that forewarned should only be used by the hunter whose turn it is when an ambush happens. Because that is the hunter being ambushed. Even if the effect of that ambush tangentially affects other hunters in the space, it should be the hunter whose turn it is that can use Forewarned. This is actually a huge nerf to Forewarned. which I think is justified because Forewarned is really, really good. It's still good, but now you have to do all of this planning, and there's this really fun bluffing that'll happen now. I move into the space. Oh, who do I want to give the Forewarned to? Do I give it to the second person in case he tries to ambush the second person? Do I give it to the first person and then he moves in, he's with Dracula? Do I move a second person in because maybe that's fog and then they get caught? There's so many fun little mind games that are now going to be present because Forewarned is working, in my opinion, as it is intended by the original rules. Fixed character seals on the left of the main screen not updating when character is highlighted if the player is viewing non-highlighted character. Yeah, sometimes you get that graphical glitch. Glad to see that fixed, so you no longer have to get out and get back in, and it's always kind of awkward to do that. Fixed character portrait in the bottom left of the main screen, sometimes getting stuck. Oh, I thought that's what this was. These two might be related in various ways, and I'm glad to see it getting fixed. Fixed advanced rules display in the pause menu not correctly showing when free placement is enabled. If you say so, I haven't noticed. Fixed using false tip during the first action of renewed vigor, skipping the hunter's second action. Yeah, false tip shouldn't do that. False tip should just affect the first action of renewed vigor. Good to see that getting fixed. Because false tip does not delay. If it was some effect that delayed the hunter, then the second action would be lost because of the phrasing on renewed vigor. Yeah, and massive thanks to Scott Sword, JB Philly, and the rest of the incredible, awesome Fury of Dracula community, because they've been compiling a list of all of the mistakes and bugs and things we think the digital edition does wrong in terms of the rules, and my goodness, this has got to have slammed out like 95% of all of our problems with the game. I never thought this day would come. I never thought we would get an update this comprehensive. I never thought that my house rule of the Dark Call would be added. I think this is going to make the game way more fun. As per including all of these, the trail sliding is a pretty significant change. And we might want to just try at the highest levels of play with just that and see how the balance feels. As per how to incorporate these house rules, because again, a lot of these are house rules, this is my suggestion. So Scott Sword, if you're listening, this is my suggestion on how we do the house rules for tournaments in the future. So in tournaments, people do one game as Dracula, one game as Hunters. Those people, those two contestants, decide before their first game, what house rules do I want to use? And the other person's like, what house rules do I want to use? If they agree, then it's fine. They play with those house rules. But they have to play with the house rules as both sides. So if you want to do the slide and then slide and slap as opposed to slap and slide, which we have right now, then you have to do that as Hunters and you have to do that as Dracula. If you want to play with this upgraded Dark Call, you have to do it as Hunters and you have to do it as Dracula. And if you can't agree, I say you coin flip, and then whichever side you land on, theirs is the rules that you use for both sides. So if you're giving an unfair advantage to the Hunters or an unfair advantage to Dracula, you have to play both, for and against. And I think that will balance it. I think the system we have right now, where you have to play as many as a game as Hunters and a game as Dracula with IDS, really makes the tournament system work. And I think as long as you use the same rules for whichever side you play as, will still have excellent tournament play. And I want to try this Dark Call variant, because that seems fun to me. I would rather have the Dark Call variant than the Slap and Slide variant, because, or Slide and Slap. Because Slide and Slap will make it harder to catch Dracula, and will give Dracula outs out of places like Cagliari and Ireland that he did not have before. It's going to make people need to be a lot more conservative about things like hypnosis and money trail and absolutely excellent weather. If you are playing Slide and Slap, then you use excellent weather like you use renewed vigor. You do not play the card unless you think you are moving into Dracula's location. Right now, you can kind of go willy-nilly with excellent weather because Dracula can get trapped a lot at sea. If you're playing Slide and Slap, no. Dracula can get out at sea a lot, and he can get himself into situations where it is very easy for him to be unreachable except by excellent weather. So you hold on to that excellent weather if you're playing Slide and Slap. If you're playing Slap and Slide, which is what the rules are right now, probably still hold on to Excellent Weather because, again, Dracula can still get into places that are really hard for you to get to. And yeah, those are my thoughts on these notes. It's huge. It's amazing. You should go follow these rules, which they posted, and get the beta and playtest it and find some bugs. We're already finding a few bugs. Like, for example, the hoax, its interaction with Emmanuel Hildershim actually shuffled Emmanuel Hildershim into the deck, which I don't think is right given the way hoax is phrased, because hoax says draw one card and then shuffle the rest into the deck. I think that rest being shuffled into the deck would not affect the one card, even if the one card is played and goes immediately into the discard pile. But that's big, highfalutin stuff. Hunt out some bugs, find them, post them. This is your chance, guys. Nomad has given us a patch, and they're wanting our feedback. For once in 2 years, it may be 2 more years before you get another opportunity to find bugs and fix things. So if you don't find the bugs, we are probably going to have that bug for 2 more years. So play the game. Find the bugs. Have the Godspeed.